Yes, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back with you guys on this beautiful morning, the Wednesday, 1st of April, 2026. Now, there's plenty to talk about. But before we get into all that, I want to say Happy New Month to all of you. Happy birthday. That is be early birthday to all April babies. Whether it's on the 1st of April or the 30th of April, I say happy birthday to you. Enjoy your birth month. And very soon for the Christians, I know you're coming to the tail end of Lent period, so we wish you the best of luck in that regard. Easter is around the corner for many of you Christians, so happy Holy Week or have a blessed Holy Week. I know tomorrow is going to be Holy Thursday, then we have Good Friday, then the Easter Sunday after the Saturday, and then we will have Easter Monday. So enjoy that long weekend. Well, personally, I'm looking forward to it in every little bit and sense. So, and I'm only hoping it gives me more time to to get you more content on the channel. That will be my hope. So anyways, so yeah, this morning we'll be talking about Italy failing to qualify for the World Cup for the third time of asking, or for the third time in a row. Then we'll get to talk about DRC Congo. They managed to qualify. Then we'll talk about Marco Cucurella's interview with The Athletic. He seems to have dropped some bombshells in that explosive interview with The Athletic. So we'll be digesting that as well. And then we'll talk about all the other countries that did qualify. And then it's sort of a wrap. We think we now have all the group stages for the World Cup figured out. In terms of the groups being complete. So we'll find out which country is in what group and things like that. So because DRC Congo are in Group K, then I think you have what's the country? Iraq. Yes, Iraq advanced and they will find themselves in Group I. So we'll talk about all that in this morning's broadcast. Otherwise, I hope you're all doing okay and great in as far as your night was concerned. What else? I mean, it feels like there's plenty to talk about, but some of the things we'll just touch on a little bit. We'll talk about later on Uganda, about the situation in Uganda. We've had some people banned by FIFA for having engaged in what is said to be match fixing. So, and there's all that. That's I think the unfortunate bit. The shenanigans of the game. Like it's such a bad thing, match fixing. But yeah, really, we'll get to talk about that. So for those of you that are just joining us, kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if it is your first time here. You'll please forgive me. I was trying to have audios tested. That's why I have my head turned away, just to make sure everything checks out before we proceed any further in this, a podcast. Then so yeah, we'll be talking about that, and then of course we'll get time to engage on any other things that you may see fit done in the comment section. So do leave me a comment. Say hello. I can see Clowncy, or Clowncy says hi to you too. So please leave me a like and a sub on the channel, and then we'll also get to talk about the other things that may be of interest to you in as far as this broadcast is concerned. So in case you have things that did catch your eye, do not fail to put them across. So really, yeah. So okay, where do we start it all? I think the best place to start is with Italy, because Italy make the headlines, and this time around they are making the headlines for all the wrong reasons once again. And it's something that we've talked about before. We've talked about Italian football before, not once, not twice, I think on multiple occasions, because they have been in the media for their footballing reasons, and it's not looking pretty. Why? Because they are four-time champions of the world, and when you look, when you predate it back, ever since they won the championship, we have Car for Car Channel. Hi, Car Channel. Good to have you on the broadcast. So, ever since 2006, when Italy won the World Cup, beating France in the final, they've never been the same team. In 2010 and the 2014 editions of the World Cup, they were eliminated at the group stages. Now, when they get eliminated at the group stages, what happens next is that they miss out on the 2018 World Cup, playing the playoff. I think against Sweden, they get knocked out. Subsequent World Cup, which is 2022, playing the playoff, North Macedonia kicks them out. Then this time around, it was Bosnia and Herzegovina that managed to knock them out. A 10-man Italy, who had taken the lead very early on in the game through Moises Kean, got eliminated because they considered a late equalizer in around the 79th minute. That is approximately about 11 minutes to the 90th minute mark. They had done well to sort of cling on to that lead, but you felt that soon rather than later, an equalizer was coming, at least against them. But when you look at the penalty shootout, because they managed to take the game to the penalty shootout, and unfortunately they missed those penalties. If this is not a rude awakening for Italians as a whole to think about how to reinvigorate their game, how to rebuild from their game, I do not think it will be rebuilding from scratch for them, as it would be the case if I was speaking about Uganda. But they need to go back to the drawing board and think afresh, and think in a different means, and think of how has football progressed from their dominant years to what we have present day. They must think about that, They must find a way to think about that. And the beauty is that they're not short of ideas. Those ideas have been floated to them, and they've just not implemented them. So I was watching that game yesterday. First of all, I wish to say this. Bastoni, I mean, what on God's green earth are you thinking? Now, I understand somebody may want to take a different bite about it when you think it's just a mistimed tackle, or no. When I rewatch the moment, first of all, he realizes the opponent player has gone through, is ahead of him. And for me, maybe I would suck at being a defender, or even would suck at being a coach. But if you're in that situation, especially quote unquote, knowing you're the last man, let it be. Run toe to toe with the man. If you can, match them for pace. If they outpace you, so be it. Here's what I usually say. Just because a strike goes through, or a potential goal score goes through, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to score. Sometimes the goalkeeper makes the save. Sometimes they miss the target. Sometimes they will score. So you have those three possibilities happening. Now, in my preference is that run with the striker, run with the forward, run whichever with the opponent. Keep the pressure on him, as opposed to you fouling them, and then we are reduced to 10 men, especially when the game is still young. Why? Because if you do what he did in the 80th minute, I have absolutely no problem. Even if it had been blatant, I would absolutely have no problem with that. But because it is in the 41st minute of the game, you're letting your teammates down. Then they have to fight on with a man less in a make or break tie, because it was a do or die. There's no two ways about it. It's either you won or you got eliminated. And unfortunately for Italy, in the post-match penalties, it was a 4-1 defeat. You know, they did miss their penalties. So, but before we even get to the penalties, you must fight to stay 11 men, because I had no doubt in my mind that 11 on 11, Italy were competing favorably better. Favorably better. I thought they were being the better team. And then that red card turns the game on its head. We'll get to Esposito, the way he blasts his penalty as though he's trying to score in a rugby goal. We'll get to that eventually. But within the normality here of the 90 minutes, Alessandro Bastoni did his teammates dirty. Just like we were saying, not too far back ago. You remember when we were having the conversation about Mickey van de Ven, when he let his teammates down in their 3-1 loss against Crystal Palace. Every time you get your team reduced to 10 men, you've done them a disadvantage. Whether they go on to win or to draw that game, you've done them a disadvantage, especially when it is early in the game. Like I said, if it is in the latter minutes of the game, yeah, do whatever it takes, keep the lead, and by the way, for as long as it's not in the penalty area. But whatever the case, do whatever it takes to keep your team in the lead and let the 10 men fight on for the remaining few minutes or couple of minutes. Now, with Italy having to play the entirety of the second half and a small portion of the first half with the manless, it was always going to be a mountain to climb. And yeah, they did well to stay in the game, because not only did they just keep Bosnia-Herzegovina out of their goal, they managed to create some chances on the other side. Unfortunately for them, they could not make those chances count for some reason. They could not make them count. They missed their chances. Moises Kean was one of those culprits. He had a moment where he goes through and he blasts his opportunity wide of the mark. Esposito had a chance of his own where he goes through and he misses. And Federico Di Marco equally had a chance, but none of them could bury their chances, because at that point, when those chances come, the game is still 1-0. So in other words, if they score, they get a second goal, it's 2-0, and suddenly Bosnia thinking to themselves, it's game over. That not even the gods of Edin Dzeko would have salvaged their evening last night, But they were not that clinic enough to get that second goal. In the end, it came back to bite them, because they conceded a goal from Tabakovic in the 79th minute to restore parity, and the 90 minutes were 90 minutes. We went through extra time. Not much came of it. We went into penalties. Italy missed a penalty, the first penalty from Esposito. Like I said, he was trying to look for, I think, the rugby goal. Then Cristante, I think, did he hit the crossbar or something? Just shambolic penalties. Bosnia took care of their own. Gianluigi Donnarumma could not save any of them. And there he was, 4-1 on post-match penalties. And for the third time of asking, Italy have been eliminated at the playoffs. Now, you remember when I said they need to go back to the drawing board and find solutions for their game? Not just because of what has happened today, but because of what has been happening in the last decade or so. And I know some of you are going to come out and say, but they won the Euros in 2020 that were played in, they won the Euros 2020 that were played in 2021. I know that. I can't forget that. Under Roberto Mancini. And they had a fairly good team. But remember, in the aftermath of that, and then missing out on the World Cup, you had players like Cellini, Bonucci, retire, subsequently Gigi Buffon and others. So it's no longer the same team. The talent is there, but it's not good enough. Sometimes good is not good enough. Esposito is a good player. Nico Barella is a good player. Manolo Locatelli is a good player. Sandro Tonali is a good player. Federico Di Marco is a good player. Bastoni is a good player. But as a collective, as a whole, they're not good enough to compete at the highest level. That's just what it is. It's plain and simple. Moises Kean is good, but not good enough. At least he hasn't been. Because if they had been good enough, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Let's not forget who is in charge, Gennaro Gattuso. And then there's obsession about the 4, actually, for them, it's a 3-5-2 system. It's not working. At least at the national team, it may be working at club level, and because majority are playing with the back three, so basically it's a replication of the same across many, many teams of the Italian Serie A. So it appears to work for those it works for, and it doesn't work for those it doesn't work for. But at the Italian national team, what's wrong with playing a back four? What's wrong with playing a 4-4-2 sometimes? Carlo Ancelotti has taken that to Brazil. Whether he will be successful with it or not remains to be seen, because, even the Brazilian current crop of talent, for me, is bang full of question marks. But this obsession with the back three, sometimes it's just not going to deliver. So it feels like a pre-cramped principle that all Italian clubs, Italian teams, or if you're playing Italian football, you must play with a back three. Why? Because Massimiliano Allegri deploys the same system, Christian Chivu deploys the same system, Antonio Conte deploys the same system. It's like a glorified set-out system that is. Let me understand this. Is there a written rule of some sort that every Italian team must play with the back three? Is that the case? I wouldn't want to believe so, and I do not think that is the case. But somehow, somewhere, that's what they do. And it's come to bite them. It's come to cost them. So, for the third time of asking, they are out of, they have not qualified for the World Cup, like I've told you. They missed the 2018 edition, 2022 edition. Now they won't be at the 2026 edition. But we're talking about one of the countries with the most rich history in as far as World Cup football is concerned. Now, when I talk about them going back to the drawing board and saying that they are not devoid of ideas, it's because Roberto Baggio already gave them a few pointers on what they need to do. And I want to take a slight insight into that because, like I said, them missing out on another World Cup is not by accident. Even though it is not by design or intent, it is simply a show of the continued decline of Italian football. Gradual. We have a saying in Uganda that you're being intentional as an aging woman that is growing smaller or thinner. Usually people, as they grow in age, advanced age, it's like they intentionally lose weight. But it is not intentional. It's like inevitably lose weight. So Italian football is inevitably losing that steam. So in that master plan that Roberto Baggio was proposing to the Italians in regards to what he thinks ought to be done, he allays a couple of points and how they need to go about it. So I wanted us to go through some of them. I can see to Yechan, inevitable, yes. Hi, Chan. Good morning. Good to have you on the broadcast. So, according to Roberto Baggio's master plan for FIGC, he says rebuild Italy's entire youth system. You remember when the Germans lost the 2002 World Cup? Obviously, they did not win the one in 2006 and 20. But practically, I think the one in 2002. They went back to the drawing board and had pressed the reset button through their youth systems. And train their youth coaches to play a certain way. And in about um, in about 12 years, that bore fruit when they won the World Cup in 2014, beating Argentina by goal to nil in the finals in Brazil. By the 2010 World Cup, you had seen the introduction of Mesut Ozil from Shakhtar Donetsk from Schalke 04 before he went to Real Madrid. You had seen Thomas Muller, Miroslav Klose was approaching the evenings of his career. But players like Marco Reus, Mario Götze were coming through. Guess who scored the winning goal at the World Cup 2014? It was Mario Götze. Players like Andreas Schuller with that team. You remember he scored, I think, 2 against Brazil in the semifinals. So in that talent side, they went and picked kids from Turkey, from Poland, or with Turkish descent and things like that. Ilkay Gundogan, Mesut Ozil, among others. So they realized quickly that, look, something is not working. We need to be intentional about this and do something, And this is what Roberto Baggio is suggesting for them. Rebuild the entire youth system. He goes on to suggest that a national curriculum for every club and academy from grassroots to Primavera, mandatory training of coaches at all youth levels focused on technique, creativity, dribbling, and individual skills, eliminating the obsession with early tactics and systems. A skill school network across Italy for ages of 6 to 14, modeled after Spain or Netherlands. There's a benchmark for it. You remember the other day, we're talking about England and how they handle talent in comparison to Spain. Spain have a lot of good talent, but they do not prop them in the media the way you hear every Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes up in English football. Today, if you bring a youngster, let's say to a Manchester United, to an Arsenal, to a Liverpool, or to a Man City, and they play 5 games and they're brilliant, score a goal, provide an assist, they're looking sharp, they're dribbling, doing all sorts of nice things. In about a couple of days' time, you're going to hear the English media, suggesting that the kid be taken to the World Cup. Spain are not quick to jump onto that bandwagon. There could be some outliers, but they're not going to be quick to jump to that bandwagon. Then, 2, he suggests that produce more elite attackers. A national attacking player program run by former attackers, daily ball mastery sessions, weaker foot training, and 1v1 development, incentives for Serie A and B clubs to play young Italian attackers instead of foreigners. Again, incentivize teams to play more young attackers. A lot of those teams are playing with aging players in Italian football. For me, okay, being foreign wouldn't be such an issue, but they need to tap into younger talent. It's not to say that there's no young talent that is playing well in Italian football, but majority of them sometimes are older players. How many Inter Milan players are young? At Juventus, you find the likes of Kenan Yildiz, Nico Paz at Como. By the way, Nico Paz, the best decision you can do for yourself is perhaps not to go to Real Madrid at the moment. I'm not saying do not go there, ever. But at the moment, you may end up being no different from an Endrick, from a Brahim Diaz, from an Adagula of some sort, where your talent sort of stagnates at a certain level, So anyways, we'll leave that at that. He talks about reform coaching education. In other words, a complete rewrite of the coaching license curriculum, more on-field practical training and less classroom theory, training coaches to develop players, not win Sunday games, benchmarking the best models. La Masia, Clairefontaine, Alex, again, he's talking about go and borrow from the best practices there is. Barcelona, this La Masia Academy, never produces the best attackers. It never produces, by the way, the best defenders, but it will bring the best midfielders. So go and learn something from them. Like I said, when you're learning from somebody, pick the positives about them, look at the negatives for what they are, and avoid them. You know, currently France is producing the best attackers. Go and see what are they doing right with French youth football. So, and things like that. So then he talks about modernization of scouting, national scouting database shared across the country, regional scouting centers to track talent from the age of 8 to 21, trained scouts with the standardized evaluations for technique, speed, creativity, and decision making, less focus on physical size, more on football intelligence. Exactly. They need to figure out something. You know, they need to produce 10 other Jorginhos. You know, they need to produce another 10 young versions of Federico Chiesa. You know, they need that. They need to find a way of producing another Cellini, another Bonucci, another Bazzagli, 5 other Gigi Buffons. But more importantly, they need strikers. You know? So then he talks about talent, protect talent and reduce bureaucracy and ending the loans plus co-ownership chaos that ruined young players and etc. etc. I remember people wanted Riccardo Carafiori to stay in Italian football, but I don't remember who said it exactly, but they were recommending they go out of Italian football, go outside and explore. Italy needs to export a little bit more talent. Yes, there are players on that national team that are playing outside of Italy. When you look at players like Sandro Tonali, Riccardo Carafiori, you know, and that Gianluigi Donnarumma at Manchester City. Yes, you have some of those, but the rest or majority: Matteo Rutegui, Moises Kean, Federico Di Marco, Manuel Locatelli, Nico Barella, Matteo Politano, Alessandro Bastoni, Gianluca Mancini are all home-based players. Now, there's no problem with that. There's entirely no problem with having home players from the home league dominating the team. I think it happens in the UK, where most of their players are coming from the Premier League. It happens with German. It happens with Spain. But that find a way to blend in more players that are playing from elsewhere. It sort of gives you a bit of an advantage. You know, this is how English football is played. So if we're going to play England in the semi-finals, this is how we should be looking to tackle them. But that exposure away from home is also good. I've been always recommending it for the English because they're one of the countries that have very few English players at elite level playing outside of the English Premier League. You'll find a Jude Bellingham scattered there. You'll find previously Conor Gallagher was at Atletico de Madrid. Then you'll find Jordan Sancho at Borussia Dortmund at a certain point. Those kinds of things. Oftentimes I feel it's not good enough. Today you have a Trent Alexander-Arnold at Real Madrid. But there's a time Chris Smalling was at Roma. Tammy Abraham was out there. You know, so I feel they need to expand that pool. You have, I think, what's his name? The former Arsenal player, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, playing in Lyon. But that's not enough. Mason Greenwood, that's not enough. Anyways, we'll leave Italy at that. They got eliminated. They'll have to wake up and deal with their football in a bit. Now, in the other games, you had Poland lose to Sweden by 3-2 as Sweden advanced to the finals of the World Cup. Anthony Elanga scoring in that one, as well as Zelewski scored to restore parity. Anthony Elanga's goal came in the 20th minute, while in the 33rd minute, the equalizer came. Nonetheless, Sweden were able to go into halftime with a 2-1 lead, thanks to that goal scored by Laja Belke. Yes. And then you had an equalizer in the 55th minute by Swidaski. And then, of course, Victor Gyökeres in the 85th minute scored to ensure that Graham Potter's side advanced to the finals of the World Cup. Anthony Elanga's goal came in the 20th minute, while in the 33rd minute, the equalizer came. Nonetheless, Sweden were able to go into halftime with a 2-1 lead, thanks to that goal scored by Laja Belke. Yes. And then you had an equalizer in the 55th minute by Swidaski. And then, of course, Victor Gyökeres in the 85th minute qualified for the World Cup. Then Turkey managed to beat up against Kosovo by a goal to nil. That goal scored by Aktakoglu. There was enough to ensure that Turkey won that game by a goal to nil and advanced to the finals of the World Cup. Then also Czech Republic knocked out Denmark 3-1 on post-match penalties that preceded an entertaining 2-2 draw. Patrick Schick scoring in that one, while Joachim Anderson scored in the second half to restore parity for the Danes. Then you had a goal in extra time with Ho, and then Ho's goal was to cancel out Krejcik, something like that, his goal. So anyways, Denmark out, Czech Republic in. So those are the other 4 countries that managed to qualify for the World Cup. Now, in the hours proceeding, in the wee hours of this morning, Iraq beat up against Bolivia by 2-1 to advance, while DRC Congo managed to beat up against Jamaica by a goal to nil to advance. That goal coming in extra time through Axel Twanzebe, the former Manchester United defender. He did score that one to ensure that DRC Congo advanced. DRC Congo had a goal ruled out by VAR. I think it had been scored by Cedric Bakambu, was it? Poland not qualifying. Pedri's agony. If you know me, I want countries that qualified for 2018 World Cup and 2022 to qualify. Sweden qualified for 2018, but Poland qualified for both. Denmark as well. I was sad about them. Sorry about those. Sorry about the disappointment. But yeah, that's the merit of football. It's football justice. Whereas I did not watch all games minute for minute, I do not remember any shenanigans when it came to officiation that you point to justify defeat or loss for those that got knocked out. In any case, 2 games went into penalty shootouts, and none of them told Italy or Denmark to be shambolic at the shootouts. Czech Republic is disgusting team. I don't like them. Why don't you like them? What is it about them that you don't like? How did Denmark lose that game? Well, they just did not do good enough. Sometimes good is not good enough. I wanted Jamaica to win over Congo. oh my, Pedri. Well, I wanted DRC Congo to win all the way. And the reasons for that are: 1, Congo are our neighbors in the West. We do share a border with them. 2, Congo have a former Uganda Cranes head coach in Sebastian de Sabre. So there's every reason for me to support them. So I was supporting Congo, rooting for Congo to go through. Excuse me. And I was really, really, really pleased to see them go through. Never mind that it was at the expense of your own joy. You say, why did Ghana fire the coach over friendly games? Well, first of all, you ought to remember that Ghana missed out on qualifying for the AFCON 2025. So perhaps, in their opinion, it was a long time coming. They had already qualified for the World Cup. Because they were in Group I and they came out on top, winning 8 out of 10 games, losing 1 and drawing the other. So they've decided to part ways with Otto Addo there, who was in his second stint with the Ghanaian national team. So he did guide them through the 2022 World Cup, in which they managed to beat up against South Korea by 3-2. However, they lost to Portugal by a similar scoreline, and then lost to Uruguay by 2-0. So they got eliminated. At that time, he had come in around February 2022, replacing Rajevic. I think he's called Molovan Rajevic, something like that. That's the guy he sort of replaced back in those days. And once he replaced him, he guided the team through, yes, he was called Milovan Rajevic. So he took the team to the World Cup by eliminating Nigeria at the time in the playoff. it was a goalless draw in Kumasi and then a 1-1 draw in Abuja. So he did well. So he went with them to the World Cup. And after World Cup elimination, he stepped down. They brought in somebody different. I don't remember who exactly. Was it Chris Hutton, the former Brighton and Norwich manager? Anyway, and then it did not work out for him. Got sacked and he came back. So he was appointed. And now he's been kicked out of the door. Obviously, it's never good to sack a manager with just a little over 70 days to the World Cup, because who are you going to bring in for a quick fix? Fortunately, this could work as a blessing in disguise for Ghana. Hervé Renard may be available. That's what is interesting, because he was with the Saudis. He could be available, and we know he's won twice. He won, I think, the Cup of Nations at one time with Zambia. So he's a very good guy. If you're Ghana, you must be picking up the phone line and saying, this guy is familiar with African football. He's 1 year before. Let's place a call with him and see if we can get him on, even if it is just to take us through the World Cup, and then we'll figure out our way thereafter. But even a longer term project with him wouldn't be bad. Anyways, you also go ahead to say Czech Republic is awful, and for some reason their flag as awful, and I do not want to see them in the World Cup. You say, I did not want to see Congo because they knocked out Nigeria, and I wanted Nigeria to go through because they were in the 2018 World Cup. Well, they were in the 2018 World Cup, but they were not at the 2022 World Cup. Then Saudi Arabia coach Hervé Renard, yes, that's the gentleman we're talking about. Yeah, so you can't go after him. So really, for me, with DRC Congo, I'm really, really happy for the Sabre. I'm happy for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Yohan Wissa, Cedric Bakambu, Noah Sadiki, all those players that they do have in that cohort. So with that said, this is now all the full groups of the World Cup, respectively, from Group A. In Group A, we have co-hosts Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, and Czech Republic. In Group B, we have Canada, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Qatar, and Switzerland. I have a feeling that Switzerland could top that group. Anyway, in Group C, Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. In Group D, USA, Paraguay, Australia, as well as Turkey in that Group D. And then in Group E is German, Curacao, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador. Then Group F has Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, and Tunisia. Then Group G has Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. Group H has Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay, while France are in Group I with Senegal, Iraq, and Norway. Group J has Argentina, Algeria, Austria, as well as Jordan. Then Group K has Portugal, DRC Congo, Uzbekistan, Colombia, while Group L has England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. Meanwhile, Croatia lost to Brazil in a 3-1 defeat there in an international friendly played over there in the United States of America. Now, for Gennaro Gattuso, who was complaining about Africa having so many slots, is it Africa that stopped Italy from qualifying? I mean, you're playing Bosnia, but you still could not win, Anyways, let's leave the Italians with their pasta. Argentina 5-1 against Zambia. I mean, that's bound to happen. Those are bound to happen. Those kinds of results. We know Argentina is a million miles ahead. Actually, it was 5-0. It was 5-0. Julian Alvarez, Lionel Messi, Nicolas Otamendi, Chanda, and Bako. Lionel Messi playing his last game in Argentine colors at home. Yeah, his last home game. So you could see it was an emotional moment for him. in that regard. Then Portugal beating USA 2-0. Like I said, Brazil beat against Croatia. Danilo de Oliveira did score in that one, as well as Oliveira, sorry, Igor Thiago with the penalty spot, and Gabriel Martinelli late on in that game, while Maja did score for Croatia. Brazil looked slightly better than they did against France, so there was that. Then also, okay, all right. Oh, let me say this about, by the way, DRC Congo. First of all, I thought they were impressive in their game. I thought they were really, really impressive. They defended well. They limited the damage in terms of how many chances Jamaica would sort of create with the likes of Isaac Hayden, Leon Bailey, who is one of their star players, and things like that. Tracy Campbell, Kong on the other side. I thought Noah Sadiq in that midfield did really, really well. Mbuku, Athama Sowaku, they looked like a well-drilled side. I think they were intentional on winning it narrow because they did not play in a manner that was that open. Same way they did against Nigeria. You limit the damage and then capitalize on the chances that you may create on the other side. So I thought Sebastian Desabre got that one spot on in as far as things go. Anyways, let's move on. We've done DRC Congo, we've done Italy quite extensively. Let's go on to Chelsea because Enzo Maresca. Okay, Pedri says, I am happy that Bastoni got a red card. This will hopefully decrease his price tag and will get him for less in the summer. Some wishful thinking there for Pedri. I don't think the red card he suffered yesterday has any bearing whatsoever on his price tag in regards to Barcelona pursuing him out of Inter Milan. Not really. So, anyways, let's move on to Marco Cucurella because Marco Cucurella did go on and have an interview with The Athletic and he was dropping bombshells. He's called out his bosses on their transfer policy of young players. He's spoken about Enzo Maresca's departure from the club, and his views are entirely not different from what Enzo Maresca has been. From what Enzo Fernandez has been telling the rest of the world. And I remember we were talking about it the other day, and I was thinking to myself, this is not by coincidence that Enzo Fernandez is speaking like this. Perhaps he's sharing the views of the wider audience of the dressing room in regards to what they think about their bosses in Todibori, Egbali, and others, So, you remember when Graham Potter was sacked at Chelsea, he said Chelsea run like a typical trial business or experiment of some sort. He was talking about how many player changes they were having to go through, bringing so many players, bring 7 players, and then you have to go back to scratch to educate the 7 on how you want to play, and then, constant iteration through players. It was never going to work for them. But here's what Michael Cucurella had to say, about Enzo Maresca. He said, with Enzo Maresca in charge, we were more stable because we worked together for 18 months. If you look at our first pre-season with him, Chelsea won only, this is in brackets, the Athletic highlighting it out, that Chelsea only won once in 6 warm-up friendlies, losing 3. There were doubts. You need a process for every player to understand what we need to do. In our last month with Maresca, we played almost by heart. If we changed system, we knew what we had to do. You need that time. Look at Arsenal now, who are fighting for every trophy. They have been with Mikel Arteta for 7 years, and they have not won much, but that trust in the project gives rewards. So I said this the other day. When you part ways with the manager, And let's be honest, the reason as to why Chelsea part ways with Enzo Maresca had had little or nothing to do with the results of the pitch, or even how they played. It's about the breakdown in relationships, that they ended up showing him the exit. And a lot of players that had played under him, still up to this day, do not understand why the club made the decision that they did make. And I also said this, that there's nowhere in the world where you think that Liam Rasinia is an upgrade to Enzo Maresca. Largely, they are both junior managers, almost could pass for novices. Their CVs are not rich, but Maresca did something. Ime, you look neat. Hello, thank you so much. Ime, Goodman says hello. Hello, Goodman. Thank you for joining us, guys. I kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if it is your first time here, and help us continue to grow. That like that you leave for me on the channel, that comment that you put down in the comment section does a great deal of wonders for me in terms of our content being recommended to wider audiences. Goodman is RIP Schooner. Jesus Christ. How many times are you going to change names? What's happening with your accounts? Anyways, it's always a pleasure to have you back. RIP Schooner. RIP Schooner was one of those people that used to support me the most. And contrary to these days, then he used to come in almost every day. And I remember, I think at that time I just started doing the routine lives, especially every morning. And he was always there, whether for a minute or so, he always showed up, There's also somebody called Peter Parker. There's somebody called the Yellow Dayak. There's a couple of those guys that used to chime in every single day. And for that, I'm forever indebted, but always a pleasure to see you guys back. So anyways, so there's nowhere in the world that Enzo Maresca, who had guided them to the triumph of the UEFA Conference League and subsequently the FIFA Club World Cup, and had guided them to a fourth place finish in the Premier League in his debut campaign, was going to be the downgrade in comparison to Rasinia. So a lot of these players, especially the experienced ones or fairly experienced, the Cucurellas, the Enzo Fernandez, you must think the Richard Jameses of this world, they must have been thinking to themselves, what have these guys done to us? Especially midway the season. Goodman says, did you know Neymar is not going to play in the World Cup? Well, that's a huge possibility of him not playing, but you never know. Maybe something changes in the next 1 month or so leading to the World Cup, because I think within a month's time or so, countries will begin revealing their squads that will be playing at the World Cup. I think he's a player that they can use because they do not have a player that can impact the game centrally, So that position behind the striker, they do not have that player that executes really, really well in that zone. He may not be prime Neymar, but you would fancy he can create something for you. So I, for one, would think that if he's fully fit, there is somebody that they can use at the tournament. It's not confirmed, little bro. Do not share fake news. Okay, it's not fake news. It's emanating from the idea that he was not summoned to the World Cup. Sorry, to the pre-World Cup friendlies that they played, and yeah, it made the headlines within Brazil and the larger context of the footballing world, because they know that for the last decade or so, Neymar has been Brazil's most prized asset, and something like that. Relax, guys. So back to Chelsea. So, Enzo Fernandez has questioned the sacking of Maresca. He's talked about you know, uh, the new manager and new tactics midway the season, he's sort of, it's not really, really going well. Now, those quotes from Marco Cucurella, go ahead. I'm trying to find the other quote. Oh, come on. Where did I drop that one? So he goes on to say that the moment Maresca left, it had a big impact on us. These are decisions taken by the club. If you ask me, I would not have made this decision to make a change like that. The best thing is to wait until the end of the season. I understand this is part of the club's policy and that they want to take this direction, signing young players. Okay, that's about young players. But about Enzo Maresca, again, like I said, they felt that it was too big a surprise and the impacts have not been positive. Who is going to win, Brazil versus Spain? I don't think Brazil would even be in the final. I mean, I would be surprised if they make it thus far. They are not among my favorites for the World Cup. I'd go Spain, I'd go Portugal, I'd go France as some of the favorites, and England. Those would be in my top 4 to win the World Cup. Yes, those ones would be my top 4. Somebody is going to ask, how about the reigning champions? The reigning champions in Argentina. Well, yeah, they have Messi, so anything can happen, but I don't think they will win it again. So we'll have to wait and see. So anyways, that sort of this sort of information coming out from the players really is quite telling that the players were really not happy with the decision that the club took to part ways with Enzo Maresca, because there's more to emphasize this. This is about still Marc Cucurella. Now he goes on to speak about signings or the club's transfer policy. When are they playing each other? Pedri, he's asking, who do you think of the two countries would win the World Cup? What's your prediction? Although he put it in the terms of versus, as though it's a game going to be played, he thinks one of those two is the one destined to win the World Cup. Who cares about club football now? Just enjoy the international break and World Cup vibes. I mean, you'll enjoy them if you're not Italian, you'll enjoy them if you're not English because they lost to Japan by 1-0. You'll enjoy them if you're not Danish. If you're not Polish, you'll enjoy them. But if you're any of those countries, then definitely you're not going to enjoy the international break. Anyways, back to Cucurella. He said, I understand this is part of the club's policy and that they want to take this direction, signing young players and looking to the future. But for all of us who are still here and want to win big things, moments like this make you feel discouraged. We have a good core of players, the foundations are there, but to fight for major trophies, such as the Premier League or the Champions League, you need more. Signing young players only might complicate achieving those goals. Against PSG, we lacked players that had gone through situations like that. You need time as well, and I know the young players are the ones that will have the experience in the future, but you need to find the balance between both worlds. Exactly. He couldn't have put it any better. It's what we've been saying about Chelsea, that you cannot, when you rely on young players, they're going to cost you along the way. Arsene Wenger used to say that all the time. Why? Because he relied on young players. He relied on young players out of circumstance. After they had built a new stadium in the Emirates Stadium or the Ashburton Grove, they always sold their most good players to try and pay dates, maintain the club afloat and things like that. So he had to rely on young players. Jack Wilshere, Aaron Ramsey, Cesc Fabregas before he eventually leaves. He brings in Sami Nasri, things like that. Johan Giroud, Those kinds of things. Theo Walcott, etc., etc. But he had to take that direction out of necessity, not out of preference. Chelsea are doing this out of preference by design. That's the direction they want to take. They want to sign all young players and work with those. Have 2 or 3 in every position, and whoever is below par then is sold off. That's their model. And Cucurella is saying you need a balance. That backline needs somebody experienced to command the defense. You look at, and it says this, we have a good core of players. The core, when you talk about players like him, Marc Cucurella, when you talk about players like Richard James, when you talk about players like Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Cole Palmer, that's the core. It's good. Levi Colwill, unfortunately, has been absent through injury, and Wesley Fofana. But they have a good core team. I've already said this, that when that squad is fully fit, and you have Robert Sanchez in goal, Levi Colwill, Wesley Fofana, Richard James, Marco Cucurella, Moises Caicedo, alongside Enzo Fernandez, Cole Palmer, you have your João Pedro up front, you have your Pedro Neto to one wing, and an Estava or whichever. They're a decent team. They can beat up against any opponent. But how about when it's time to swap it out? Liam Delap has not worked out. Jamie Gittens has not worked out thus far. Alejandro Garnacho has been Alejandro Garnacho. Levi Colwill, oftentimes injured. Dario Sugo, Andre Santos. Okay, players. But you need more. You need a bit of experience. Because if you're going to play Cucurella with Joshua Achepong and Trevor Chalobah and Jorel Hato in your backline, they're bound to cost you at some point. So whatever Cucurella is telling the world is what we have thought for quite some good time. He made reference to Arsenal. And one of the things Arsenal did when they were signing young players, they were looking at also experience. Remember when they were signing players between the ages, I think, of 21 to about 24, they looked at their experience, how much they had played in the last couple of years. Ben White had been a regular at Brighton and had been at Leeds, where he had been on loan. Martin Odegaard, when initially first picked from Real Madrid on loan, he had a very good stint with Real Sociedad. When you look at Declan Rice, experienced. William Saliba, still young, but now has the experience. Why? Because when they first bought him, they left him at Saint-Etienne on loan. Then he went to, was it Lille? And then Olympique Marseille. He had 2 other loan spells just to build his experience, to work on that, So you look at players like Pierre Hincapié, still young, but they have the experience. Even when you look at a player like Christian Mosquera, for the previous 2 seasons, he has been a main key figure, or had been a main key figure at Valencia. He was looking in from the outside, So they are intentional on that. So as opposed to a Jovan Quenda who is just mushrooming, Willan Estava mushrooming, 18 years of age, you're not going to demand much from them, Now, look at what they did with the striker. They bought Victor Gyökeres, experienced. Eberechi Eze is 27? Experienced player. Look at Mikel Merino. Look at Martin Zubimendi. These are players with experience, with maturity, to blend into the sort of young squad that they had already had. Christian Norgard. That's why they brought Jorginho. He had experience. It's more like a player coach of some sort. Bring guidance to the team. So Chelsea need a bit of that. They need a bit of that in that squad. Okay. Um, okay. Pedro says, I feel like now more people are enjoying World Cup vibes and talking about the World Cup. Okay. Then Goodman says, I think Brazil wins it. Okay. Well, you're not English, Italian, Danish, or Polish, so you should enjoy international break, no club football. I can't enjoy it because Uganda Cranes is not playing. So I can only enjoy a bit of it because Brazil was playing. So, and it's not about me, really. It's about the wider world of the football community, Pedri. Raymond says, hi, DRC Congo have already qualified for the World Cup. From Ray, thank you so much, Raymond. Yeah, that's true. They beat Jamaica by goal to nil. That goal scored by Axo Tuanzebe. Yeah, we got informed. Come on, Pedri. Raymond Kangumba says, hi, David Hopkinson should David, you say, hi, David Hopkinson should be relieved of his duties as manager of Newcastle now and sacked for Newcastle United and more. Who is David Hopkinson? Who the hell? Your guess is as good as mine. Pedri Edhow is the manager of Newcastle United. Raymond knows that. Raymond knows that. Okay. What's with the dollar sign? Goodman, you want to donate a few dollars to me as a form of thank you? I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Anyways, Pedro says Thiago Silva was a big loss for them. They haven't replaced him well. Chelsea need a big goalkeeper as well. Edward Mendy was such a big advantage. They haven't replaced Mendy or Thiago Silva. What a shame. Exactly. Those players that you point out to were big players with the experience, with the command, So right now, you feel Sanchez does not command his backline well enough. You feel that something is a bit lacking there in there. So I hear you on that. It's well put. It's well put. They need those. You need those leaders. Even in the front line, they need somebody with a bit of more experience. I remember. I think their preference was with Victor Osimhen, a more proven striker, kind of. Look at what Liam Delap has done. Close to nothing. A good man says, oh, hi, Raymond comes back with the same comment about David Hopkinson. We do not know what you're saying, buddy. Who the hell is the David guy? That David guy. I do not know. But for those of you that are wondering, every day Raymond comes with a different suggestion of a manager that should be appointed at Newcastle. Should they decide to get rid of Eddie Howe. So he's just passionate about Newcastle. He wishes them well, and he thinks that Eddie Howe should be let go of, even though he is himself not consistent with his own suggestions. Today he wants Maresca, tomorrow he will want Adi Huta, tomorrow he will want Andoni Iraola, the next day he will want Dizabi, another day he will want somebody else. So that's just about it. Goodman says, I'm feeling sick today. Sorry about that. Maybe Raymond guy is an alien. Pedri, be nice. I know the UEFA Champions League hurt you. You are demolished. The flip put of you. Okay. Okay. Do not rub it in, Pedri. Do not gloat about that emphatic victory for for Barcelona. It is what it is. So yeah. But in a nutshell, it looks like Chelsea some of those senior players or senior figures within the club are not really pleased with how Egbari Todibori have handled things. Okay. Now, Uganda Cranes will play Brazil and France. Yeah, very interesting. Pedri, did you hear that? Uganda Cranes will play Brazil and France. Jesus Christ. Even the sound of that makes me think we're going to be beaten 10. Of course, if Brazil are playing Uganda Cranes, I'll support the Uganda Cranes. But I wouldn't want us to be embarrassed. Bro, chill out. Jesus Christ. Does it have to take that long to load? In what world will Uganda ever play Brazil or France? Uganda can't even play my backyard team. Okay. Pedri, this is the story. And this is according to the Daily Monitor, a story filed by one Aaron Darren. He says, following continuous consultations with local football body, FIFA and Ugandans contacts in the USA, the Cranes will face Brazil on June 2nd and France 4 days later at the Sports Illustrated Stadium in Harrison, New Jersey. Yes. So those will be friendlies pre-World Cup. Although I'm thinking to myself, if you're France and Brazil, unless you just want a warm-up game, not an actual test of a friendly, because if you wanted an actual test of a friendly, maybe you go with a team with bigger pedigree on something. But for us, it's a joy. It's a joy that this is going to happen. So I cannot imagine. So the Uganda Cranes will play two of their highest level matches in history ever when they face big wigs Brazil and France before the FIFA World Cup kicks off in June. So it's basically that. That's the world where Uganda will be playing France and Brazil. I cannot wait to look forward to that. The facility is the home to Major League Soccer side, a New York Red Bulls, where former Uganda Cranes captain Ibrahim Sekaja is the assistant coach. So you basically can understand. So June the 6th, we'll be playing France. Wait to see how we demolish Kylian Mbappe. Wait and see how we school Brazil on how football is actually played. I have 11 Ronaldo t-shirts. Wow. It doesn't have that much at BBC football. Are you sure maybe it's not under 15 match? Pedri, come on, do not water down our little achievements of an achievement as little as booking a friendly with Brazil or France. Because by Ugandan standards, let's be honest, that's an achievement of its own. Cut us some slack and let us dwell in our own affair. Okay. Wow, and I have 30 Messi t-shirts. Cap. Okay, guys. No, I'm joking. Uganda is good. Thank you so much, Pedri. Thank you so much, Gunman, for having been part of this morning's podcast. Raymond Kangumba, always a pleasure. Chan, Clowncy, Kachano, thank you so much. Ime, thank you so much. Who else? Who have I skipped? I hope not anybody else. Thank you so much, guys, for having been part of this beautiful broadcast. Allow me to wish you a wonderful rest of the day, a blessed new month. It's April Fast. Usually, some people call it April Fool's Day. I do not know who invented April Fool's Day, but make sure you're not fooled by anyone, especially in these morning hours of April the 1st. I wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Bye bye, and until next time, stay blessed, guys. It's been a nice chat with you. No, but seriously, Mr. Tribe, it doesn't show any Uganda match in the upcoming 2 months before the World Cup. It's just news that has come to me. So I give it time to percolate. But maybe before I sign out, I can do this and share the link with you down in the comment section. You can read the story yourself. Sorry. That story was filed by the Daily Monitor, one of Uganda's leading dailies. Oh, okay. Let me see where I can put this for you. But it was filed by the Daily Monitor, Uganda's leading independent newspaper. Story via Daily Monitor. So that's the link to the story in case you'd want to find out more about it. Our friends, but you don't know her friends. Oh, what's that about? I'm pretty sure you don't have any friends. Good man. My friend has 37 Neymar t-shirts. Something is not working on my end. I don't know why. Guys, are you done? Anyway, have a blessed day. Let's look to do this again next time. Stay blessed. Bye-bye for now. I can see Pedro, you're still talking. Chill out. Bye.